Hi everyone, welcome to another live session from Rumination. Tonight we're going to be talking about rumination. Rumination is a bit like reflux. It's the gift that just keeps giving. So rumination is about going over and over and over things that we've done in our past that we sort of can't get rid of. So how do we get rid of those things that are in our past that usually from when we were a child, we've done something dumb. And when we get into times such as we're in at the moment, a bit of crisis, they tend to keep coming back to us and coming back into our mind because as we're going through the fight or flight stages. So here's a small technique that you have to do with somebody else. And it's a way of bringing perspective, if you like. Now, I call it the 3 Ps. It's natural in psychology that when we have those things that we've done in the past, to go back over them and to replay them. And again, it's part of that risk management tool that we have. And we see things in 3 dimensions. We see it that they're personal, pervasive, and permanent. Now, some people often ask in our sessions, what's the difference between rumination and worry? Now, worry is only about the future. And when we worry, it keeps changing. So when we worry about something, it just keeps changing and changing and changing. With rumination, it's a bit like a broken record. Now, some of you young people won't know what a record is. It's a plastic disc with scratches in it and music comes out. And when that keeps going back and forward, it keeps repeating. So what rumination is going back over the same thing over and over. I shouldn't have done this. I should have known better. I should have. So how do we get rid of those things? Now, this technique is used for things that are simply silly, dumb things we did, usually as a child, but sometimes in our adult life as well. And we do it with somebody else. So we see things on personal. If we've done something wrong, it's either our fault or it's not our fault, it's somebody else's. So it's along that continuum. So if it's my fault, it's a 10. If it's not somebody else's fault, it's a 1. So that's sort of how we're going to score it. The next dimension that we see it on is pervasive. It's always on my mind. So it either keeps going up in my mind, it keeps repeating it, or not so much. So if it keeps repeating, it's a 10. If it's not so much, it's a 1 and anywhere in between. And we just score it. We're going to put a number down. And the third one is permanent. I can never change what's happened. So that'll be a 10. And a 1 would be, well, time might heal, or there was a bit of perhaps wasn't all, I can change some things, I can make up for it, I can do whatever there. When we make a mistake, the number one way of getting over it is to do something about it, is to apologize or, make up for whatever you've done. But sometimes when we do something that's wrong, we don't necessarily feel like it's the right thing to do. We don't want to hurt anyone else. So it's great to tell people when you've done something wrong if it's not going to hurt them. But if it's going to hurt them, I think you might want to reflect on whether you should actually tell somebody something or whether you might want to do this exercise. So it's up to you. You do the right thing as far as you're concerned. So we've got something that's personal. Now what we're going to do is we're going to write down 3 scores. So think now about what it is that you want to get rid of out of your memory, or certainly bring some perspective to it. So there's 2 ways to get things out of your head, as you know. One is to write and one is to talk. Again, we're going to do both. So we're going to do it with somebody else. And the value of this one is we can do it by phone. We don't have to see the person when we're doing it, or we can do it by email even. It's better if they're in front of you, but certainly over the phone or, like we're doing right now would work. So personal, think about it, whatever it was. Now, if it was your fault, it's a 10. Right? This is the way we're going to score it. If it wasn't your fault, it's a 1. Or anywhere in between that. It might be both of yours fault, a 5, or it might be. So it's where you see it. It's up to where you see it, not where anyone else does. So you write down a number between 1 and 10. What happened to you? Was it personal to you? Was it your fault? Was it on you? Or was it on the other person? So you write that score down, 1 to 10. Pervasive, it's always on my mind, it's going to be a 10. I can't stop thinking about this. Or perhaps it might be a 5. It's just every month or so I reflect back on it. So again, it's you. You make the score. This is the thing. It's all about you. And the third one is permanent. It's forever. I can't change it. It's a 10. Or perhaps I can make up for it. I can do other things. Or perhaps just time heals, allows us the other memories to get over it. So it's between 1 and 10. So you write those numbers down, right? Now, what you do then is when you've written down your numbers is you phone a friend at the moment. And they would have seen this video as well, or you showed them this video ahead of time. And you tell them what it was that's on your mind, that what you did. Now, a classic one that I hear all the time is, particularly from teenagers, adults, but when they're teenage years, they stole dad's car and crashed it, or they stole a bottle of alcohol and drunk it, or they did something dumb. In my case, years ago, I set fire to a tree. Firebug. That's why I didn't become a fireman, I became a cop. Anyway, let's not go there. I've dealt with mine. It's your issue this time. So we're going to score it on these 3 dimensions, right? You think about it. Now, when you're telling the other person, because you want to get them to score as though they did it. So you tell them what you did and nothing else. Just the facts. No emotion. Right? So you just say, this is what I did. And don't tell them anything else about it. And you ask them then to score it. Is it personal, on a personal level, on a pervasive level, and on a permanent level? Now, when they score it, 1 to 10 on each of those, there was always, unless they know you, if they know you really well, the scores will end up pretty similar. So it's best to do this with somebody who's perhaps doesn't know you that well. Then you get their scores and you compare them. And there is always at least one, and the majority of people that we do this with is only one, is completely different. And so what we're going to do there is we're going to compare them. And the one that is very different, you talk about that. What is the difference? And so a lot of times it would be around the permanent, I can't change it. And you might have done something that you can't change, but you can change it through other things. Perhaps it might not be a 10 now because it could be that time has healed all. It could be that you've made up for it in a different way. It could be that you've brought some sort of other thought process to it. And that's a good thing. But there'll be one of those dimensions that will be completely different. Talk about it. It's important when you're telling the person about what it is that's on your mind that keeps coming back, not to tell them how you felt about it. Because as soon as you tell somebody how you feel, they go into that same zone that you're in. So make sure that you don't tell them what's going on and what you feel about it. So you get them to write those 3 scores, and there's always one that's different. So I hope that makes sense. Now what happens then is, when you discuss that one little difference, it brings the 4th P, which is perspective. The majority of things that we've done in our life that we sort of regret and ruminate over. So rumination is guilt and regret joined together. We regret doing it and there's a guilt involved, and we just keep repeating it. Because our brain, all it's simply doing is trying to figure out why you did what you did. It's a bit of that, that inner critic that's beating us up for no valid reason. There's always something different. So it might be personal. So you've scored it as a 10, it's my fault. Somebody might come in and say, well, it's only a 5 really, because you were under the age of 25. It's not a get out of jail card, the under the age of 25, but what we do know is that under the age of 25, logic hasn't fully expanded into our brain yet. It's the last part to grow. In the last, between 20 and 25, we start to develop our rational thought and all that sort of stuff. So we don't fully grow into logic until that stage. It's not an out, but it just gives you a reason to do so. Things do play in our mind a heck of a lot, and there's no need for that to happen. It's all it's doing, and this is another kicker here, is that the reason our brains hold on to these negative things is to look after us. And, all of these things are thoughts, aren't they? And that's the important thing. We all have an inner critic. that beats us, and this is the one that's what rumination is associated with. We all have an imposter inside us. We all have a younger self. We all talk to ourselves. We all worry. We all have all of these things going on. We compare ourselves with the outside world, with others. And the reason we do that is to keep us safe. Risk management tools. And that's what rumination is. Don't do this again, is all it's saying. But it just exaggerates. The longer you hold on to things inside your head, it expands the negative aspect of that to bring a clarity to fix it. And that's where rumination comes from. You know, I'm sure we've all done something in our life that we've regretted, and it might be when we're younger or older, it doesn't matter. So try that technique. If you didn't quite get the idea of it, go and have a look back at this video. So we are going to be posting this video up. And if you do need to, can't find somebody to talk with me. Contact us through our website. Go through my email through the website, and just write in there what it was and your scores on personal, pervasive, permanent. I will score it as though I did it, and then you come back and we'll talk about, and we can do it all by electronic if you want, or we can do it video or whatever, on what it is. So hopefully that's helpful to you. Finally, to finish off, if you do have any questions or comments, please do leave them below. You know how to get hold of us, warninternational.com. You can go through either the Facebook page here, or you can go through to our website. Remember those sleep tips. If you're having trouble sleeping, a lot of us are having trouble still sleeping and having weird dreams. Man, my dreams haven't stopped being weird yet, really. So I put a post out recently. So the two posts I put out, they're on all of our social media pages. The first one is panic is in our DNA, why it is that we want to get to the shops and fill up our car and, you know, the service stations, etc. The second one is on why we're so tired today and why dreams are weird. The one next week I'm going to be putting out, and I've had a few people mention this to me recently, is that they are feeling more emotional. And I've had a couple of emails just yesterday from men who are saying they find themselves crying. So that'll be the next post, and it may even be the next update next Wednesday at 11:30. We might do something more on that as well. Why are we becoming more emotional? And is that a good or a bad thing? And hopefully we will give you some helpful hints and tips on how to get over that. So that's me. Thank you so much for watching. It will be here later on. I'm very grateful for you being here. So rumination, it doesn't have to be like reflux. The gift that keeps giving, you can get rid of it. And that's how you do it, by bringing perspective to it. Another person's thoughts. Take care. See you again. Bye.